Prince Harry and Princess Meghan are soulmates indeed. This was confirmed reading Spare, a memoir by Meghan Markle's husband and Archie and Lily's papa. Spare is a landmark publication full of insight, revelation, self-examination, and hard-won wisdom about the eternal power of love over grief. Spare is Bridgerton, The Crown, Shakespeare, Game of Thrones, EastEnders, Real Housewives of Kensington Palace, sibling rivalry, adultery, basically petty jealousy and palace intrigue. It is the story of colonization in the 21st century for the hearts of the people. Flipping the narrative on its head. Decimating his wicked stepmother's power base in the British tabloids. Prince Harry reveals that there is a fly, bee, and wasp usurping power. Usurpers, whose power is unchecked. This makes them kingmakers, when in fact shouldn't the king be the final authority? For Harry, and the generations of royal second-borns before him, the word spare is significant. The heir and the spare, or the spare to the heir, describes the monarch and their sibling. In the olden days when disease was rampant and death among children, spares were necessary to ensure a family's line in case death befell the firstborn. Simply put, they were human insurance, and once their older brother reached a mature age, expendable. Spare isn't about Harry's attempt to dismantle the monarchy, it's about his long-standing feeling that he's never had a role or a place in the royal family, despite desperately wanting to fit in. And it's about the press doing its best to make the divide as big as possible. Highlights of Spare. Number 1. Quest for belonging. As we have long said on this channel, we truly believe that Princess Diana was the only person who was 100% Team Harry. When she died, he never felt like he belonged anywhere. He was a nomad until he found the only other person who is 100% loyal, the American, whom he describes as the last of the gold. Number 2. Meghan Markle, the last of the gold. Meghan's wedding ring is made from Welsh gold. All royal wedding rings are made from this gold. But the mine is running out of gold. It is now rare and priceless like Meghan. Number 3. Dealing with grief. I told myself that I wanted closure, but I didn't really. I got the closure I was pretending to seek. I got it in spades. And now I'd never be able to get rid of it. Harry wrote. Harry became familiar with death very early on in his life. It's not new news that he was forced to walk behind his mother's casket at the age of 12, then his great-grandmother's casket just 4 years later. Harry also lost his childhood best friend, whom he lovingly called Hennas, at the age of 17. Before he was even an adult, Harry was all too familiar with what it felt like to lose a loved one forever. Death became the center of his life. Number 4. Bullied by tabloids. A young man without a mother, grieving alone and bullied by fake tabloid headlines and forced to remain silent. Spare is the statement he wanted to make all those years ago when he was told he couldn't. Finally, at 38, the man escaping the gilded cage is free. The family is toxic, everyone is jostling for power, and there is no trust. The ones at the top of the hierarchy benefit from gossip, and relationships are destroyed among family members. This is why conspiracy theorists say that their blood is blue and cold. Who does that to their own? Camilla has no skin in the game after all. It is not her children who will inherit the kingdom, so she has nothing at stake. She does not care about Diana's legacy. Number 5. Searching for meritocracy in the aristocracy versus second best. From a young age, Harry had always been told he was second best. Imagine trying to make your way through your formative years with the world constantly nitpicking at you and tearing you down. It takes away any sort of confidence you may have. Harry loved Meghan's confidence, and one of the first things that the palace did was to invent fake protocols to make it seem like Meghan was failing and take away her confidence so they could control her. Number 6. Soulmate Meghan, the last of the gold. Meghan, who he described as the only woman he ever really loved. The only person he could ever really trust was Meghan. Thanks to the Royal Calms teams, he couldn't even really trust his father or his brother. The king and his Nemesis Willie, who had reached out to tabloid editors to do a hatchet job on Meghan, proved to the world he was no brother to Harry. The British press have already confirmed this in the Tim Shipman article of 2019. What brother doesn't tell their younger sibling that he's getting engaged and getting married? Harry wasn't even Will's best man and vice versa. Writer Sarah Valloni thoughts on Spare was Harry's way of saying I love you, will you love me too? Will you love me and the family I created for who we are, despite everything we have already been through? Some have argued that the royal family has always put their country before their well-being, and Harry is asking them to change hundreds of years of history. But again, I think people are missing the point. Harry has given everything to his country, and I believe he and Meghan would continue to do that. Instead, Harry is asking his family to put him before the press, to put the inner workings of the royal family before the royal rota. These Spares occupy a complex existence. They're thrust into the spotlight from birth yet, unlike their eldest sibling, have no defined role. As time goes on, and their monarch has children, their importance and influence wane along with their place in the line of succession. Why hasn't the royal establishment found a role for the second child or Spare?